If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Please, speak freely.
Welcome back to Disney Marvels for a week of January 2nd, 2022. Happy New Year, everyone! This is episode 159. Disney Marvels, the show about Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Muppets, Pixar, 20th Century, the parks, and much, much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. Like I said, Happy New Year. Welcome in 2022 with warm wishes and hope for the best and healthy year for everybody. We'll be back after these brief messages from our friends and sponsors. And now, on with the show.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant.
Happy New Year to all. And to all, welcome to this promising 2022. To kick the year off, I want to go and review, even though it was last year, this year, the Book of Boba Fett. And then we have some news coming up afterwards. Of course, we have to remember Betty White. And two people that I'd like to remember have come along. Isaac and Matt, of course, joining me for another week of frivolity and shenanigans and malarkey. So, gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you for having us back.
Hey, Happy New Year. Thank you for having me back as well.
So first of all, both hope your year has been good so far. All at this point, 22 hours
gone without talking to each other.
Yes.
Yes.
The best days of your life.
It's been a good the last week has been very good, and the last year was very good, and it's good to be back on the show so we can talk about stuff.
Yes.
I'm kind of surprised you had us back after last week's show, but
I'm surprised you had me back after last week.
I'm not going to. We thought about doing this without you. We considered it.
We're no longer putting the host of the show in a speaking role. He will just be producing and doing the editing. Everyone else has decided to take over. In fact, we fired him and hired his wife.
Oh man, that's funny.
So what are we talking about? Let's talk about stuff.
Let's talk about Book of Boba Fett.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
It was very it kind of dragged along.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're not wasting any time. You're cutting right to it.
Yeah. Well, considering that half the movie.
Wasn't even what do you guys think about it? Wow.
It's a 38-minute show. You figure 8 minutes of it is the credits. So a half an hour show, and most of the time, he's being dragged along.
Yeah. Pretty much.
It's very, as has been the case with a lot of these shows, it's very, very well produced. I'm waiting for the show to actually start. This is, as we've talked about some of the Marvel show, I felt like I was watching a Marvel show. I was just waiting for something to happen. And it didn't even leave, like if you go back and watch the first episode of Mandalorian, there's kind of like, okay, you sort of establish who this character is, and then there's this cool twist at the end where the package that he sent to get is this kid. And so you're enticed to come back for episode 2, but there was just nothing here. Not that I won't go back for episode 2, but there was nothing here that enticed me for episode 2 and wanted me to come, made me want to come back for it. Other than, it's well produced. It looked pretty.
I wonder if that wasn't semi-intentional because they kind of figured they may already have their audience. Because the name alone, the character alone, has such a huge following. You don't need that to put that hook in. So I'm wondering if that's intentional. I mean, Isaac, what do you think on all of this?
I was kind of bored with the first episode, no lie. You know what? It's just a little weird when it comes and I remember it was the Mandalorian kind of having almost at that same start, but only like what Matt one said. It just becomes this it's the situation where, at least with the Mandalorian, there was a lot of intrigue. Like, again, you didn't know who the Mandalorians were. You knew of it in Star Wars lore, but there was not a lot about it talked about. And then you wondered who this character is. He was mysterious, even though it was played by Pedro Pascal. And then, like what Matt said, at the end of the day, the package that he was carrying was a little baby Yoda, which everybody knows is Grogu. Yeah, which is like, what, 300 years old? Wait, was he 100, 300 years old? I think it was
50.
He was 50. He was a 50-year-old Yoda. So yeah, with that, there was at least enough intrigue for us to go back to, like you said, to continue watching the rest of the series to see how that completes. But with this is just an incredible slow burn. You really don't really understand exactly what's happening too. And I understand if Disney is kind of banking on us to continue to come back. I think where's my biggest concern right now for Disney shows is I don't want to say they're throwing darts on the board, but it does kind of feel like, okay, let's just kind of take things right now and let's see if we can explore it. And I'm not saying that the Book of Boba Fett is going to be a bad series. It might end up at the end of it be really good, but right now at the moment, it just doesn't seem like it feels like not everything needs to be explored. Not everything needs to be digged up and needs to be explored at the moment. Again, this is the first episode we're watching this, but right now it's not looking, and at my moment, it's not looking intriguing for me that I want to continue to invest my time. But I will, because it's a Star Wars show, and it could get better. So that's
I thought what was really telling here for me was, I remember when Mandalorian premiered, I remember sort of Facebook, and Facebook absolutely lit up. Like, everything was The Mandalorian. Every other post was, oh my gosh, this thing, you got to watch this, you got to watch this, you got to watch this. And I had gone through, it was very late in the day. What was it? It was Tuesday that it premiered.
Mm-hmm.
It was late in the day where I went, oh, today's the day that the Book of Boba Fett premieres. And nobody had said anything about it on Facebook. There wasn't. It was something that I came to by myself very late in the day. I went, oh yeah, I was like looking at the calendar, going, December 29th. Why does that? That's something. That's a something. Yeah, I guess Wednesday is the 29th.
Yeah,
but regardless. There wasn't that kind of buzz around it.
Yeah,
that Mandalorian had.
And I wonder if there's a few factors in that. One being, it's December 29th. It is literally halfway between Christmas and New Year's, when kids are out of school. You had all the Christmas stuff going on, New Year's, and there's so much other stuff going on and occupying people's attention and minds and interests at the moment, that a premiere of this new series isn't something that was really hammering in on people. That it's just like, okay, well, we finished Hawkeye. Oh, we got the holidays to worry about here. Who's going to Aunt Betty's today, and who, grandma and granddad's. Okay, we got to get to them because what we're bringing for dinner. So you got so much else going on at the moment. That is it maybe even just more of an ill-timed placing of this. Now, and this is leading up to the series.
No, it's dull. It's not ill-timed.
No. I mean, leading into the series before even watching it. Because I saw the promotions for it everywhere. I did hear some people talking about on certain groups. Now these were more Star Wars centric groups, so it makes sense of who's staying up till 5 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning to watch this. I was not having that, but I mean, after we did watch it, we watched it not Wednesday, Thursday, and I understand why they did some of what they did as far as the story goes, because they're okay. How did he survive the Starlock pit? Okay, so they show him in it. They show him getting out of it. I saw someone's comment on one of these groups going, that was a lot quicker than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And I agree. I don't understand exactly what happened for the next part, because it's going back and forth. And some of this may play out. Some of it just may be excessive character development.
I think my feeling on it is that I know Dave Filoni is involved, and I know there are a bunch of episodes of Clone Wars a little bit, but certainly Rebels. There was a lot of stuff that he would do, and you'd go, well, that was a filler episode. That's just, that doesn't have anything to do with the overarching thing. Yeah. And then it would be sometimes weeks later, sometimes full seasons later, where something that some minor episode in season 2 that everybody thought, oh, that's just filler, was actually, played out piece, in season 4. And I think that'll certainly the relationship to the Sand People will certainly play out and be a thing going along.
But do we need that much of it? Like, will that kid eventually be an important character? The only thing I could make the connection so far, and this is, to me, it was even a stretch, was that when we were reintroduced to Boba Fett in The Mandalorian, his fighting style was very different. And what weapon did he use? The staff that the Sand People use.
Well, yeah, that was a clear callback.
Yeah,
to the Mandalorian, yes.
So you have that connective thread there. So this is a character that's been missing for, I apologize, I'm not as familiar with the timeline. So 10, 15, whatever, how many years from the end of Jedi?
I think it's supposed to be 5 years after.
Okay.
It's just a couple. It's like 3 to 5 years after Jedi is when Mandalorian takes place.
Okay, so 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And
that's about right.
So it's like, okay, what has he been doing in this time? Well, has he been cooking and keeping house and searching up new recipes on how to eat porgs? So I mean, they're trying to fill in. Okay, here's the backstory, and trying to give him a little bit more of a character flaw, to give him a little more depth, which my assumption is going to lead into the way that he does stuff, because we're already seeing, okay, he runs things differently. I don't want to be carried around and held above the people. I want to walk amongst the people and be seen.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point, because his character wants to, like you said, he wants to be respected. He doesn't want to be feared.
Right.
And I guess learning. Well, let me backtrack, because I think when it comes to Star Wars and when they announced this show, I thought, okay, Star Wars, understanding about the underworld of Star Wars would be very intriguing, and how everything goes. Maybe this is like the Sopranos of the Star Wars universe, and how Boba Fett no longer wants to be a dude for hire, but wants to own an empire. And it seems like that is the story from guy going for killer of hire to owning something. But clearly it's, and I'm guessing within the story, the hopefully the fun part is that he's taking out all of these kingpins so he can eventually rule the underworld with an iron fist. But going back to what Matthew said, I think I do understand that it's always good to kind of lay out like these, like, okay, maybe it's a filler episode that has like maybe which later on is going to be referenced down the road. But at the same time, I also feel like you have to be able to create something that is the least grabbing in this episode. And this episode just didn't really have any of that. And you're right, the first episode could lead to something very, very important down the series. But yeah, just the way how this one was just established was really just.
It's weird that you'd put that for your first episode.
Yeah, it would just be a little weird and just kind of not really establishing any kind of link other than the fact that he was trapped in the desert along with, I guess, these sand people, which, again, I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy, though, so I think someone's going to correct me exactly what those characters were.
Yeah, the sand people, you're right.
They are the sand people? Okay, cool.
They have another name, too, don't they?
Yeah.
Do they?
They do. I thought they did.
I know within the episode they do answer the question how he lost.
Tusken Raiders. Oh my gosh, I'm so
Tusken Raiders.
Thank you.
I'm embarrassed that I had to
The
look
Tusken
that
Raiders.
up.
No, that's fine.
I apologize to all Star Wars fans who are listening. I'm
No.
better at this.
I mean,
I got my copy of the
Matt-
Star Wars book by Dan Zier.
Matt A was about to pull out the encyclopedia, so don't worry about it. But you beat him into it. But like going.
We'll prove we're knowledgeable about stuff later on in the show. I promise.
Yeah, again, right now it just feels like an episode that's just answering things that weren't answered in the Mandalorian. Like, okay, now we know exactly what happened to his armor and why he wasn't with his armor for a long period of time throughout that series, which was also another important gag, and why he was living with those people. Clearly, we're going to understand why eventually he seems to be adapted within that episode, which was really important. Ends up saving one of the kids' lives in that attack. So clearly the Sand People, that tribe, was willing to accept him as one of his own until he could sit down and build up.
You have some nice action scenes.
Yeah, there were some decent action scenes. Again, I'm just hoping, and I guess the next little tidbit into that show was, I guess I want to say, was it the mayor or the servant of the mayor?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was clearly. It seems like that's going to be the big conflict between Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Is going to clearly be doing who is this mayor character. Because it sounds like this is the dude that's kind of running the entire operations. He might be like the face, but really he's probably doing some really shady stuff within the galaxy. So I think that's the person that he's going to have contention with to kind of prove his mettle. And another tidbit too, it just seems like we're kind of getting a nice Boba Fett. Usually in my mind, I'm thinking that we're going to get this kind of ruthless dude who you've read in the comic books and the novels as well as the movies, that's going to be no bars in order to get what he's want. But this one kind of Boba feels to me, he feels a little bit tame to me right now at the moment, asking for respect. And he kind of feels like a pushover too, because I feel like I feel like that name Boba Fett should have more respect behind it and more fear behind it, knowing who he was. But it just seems like in this whole place is like nobody's like, you ain't nothing, dude. Like it just seemed like when he even walked into that casino, it's like like, who are you again? Like you know who this guy is? It's literally Boba Fett. So that was also a little bit taken back by that.
I'm going to jump in and stop you there, because you said something very interesting, which is that this respect for who Boba Fett was, and I sort of jumping back to something we said, the three of us talked about last week, as a matter of fact. I think we were talking about this, which is, I think there's an element of Boba Fett that is in fans' minds. Boba Fett is way cooler than he actually is. Boba Fett, when you really kind of watch him, is a bit of a dink. He's not really the greatest bad monkey that the world has ever, that the galaxy has ever seen.
So it's like the legend really doesn't matches the man at times.
It's sort of the legend of Boba Fett and who Boba Fett actually is are slightly out of whack with each other. You know, so I'm hesitant to say he's not the super all powerful, tough, muscly dude. We all, there's a bit more to him than that. If he's a guy in cool armor, is what he is.
Yeah.
With a little demeanor to him, but
no, I'll let you finish up, Matt.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's just got a little demeanor to him, but I mean, you piece together the puzzle of his life. We first see him; he's a little kid, a little spoiled brat, and okay, I'm sorry, he lost his dad. His dad was trying to kill some people. He got killed instead, and that's kind of his pushing off point. Like, they beat up, they killed my dad. I'm gonna kick their butt. And we don't see him again until he's hired by Vader.
No, he's in Clone Wars.
Oh, he's in Clone. That's right. He's in Clone. I haven't.
And again, he's kind of a failed assassin. He's not very good at what he does. He botches the missions that he's sent on. He's essentially. I feel like there's an episode of Clone Wars I need to go back and watch. That's that I've seen recently. I've seen within the last couple months, and I want to rewatch it now.
You know who he is. I got the perfect analogy here.
Yeah.
You guys familiar with the movie Twins?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the perfect specimen.
Right.
And then you got Danny DeVito, who kindly refers to him as the blank left over. So we now know that there were two unaltered clones. There was Alpha and Omega. Alpha is the perfect, smart, intelligible clone that's hanging around. Last time we saw her with the Bad Batch. And then there's Boba Fett, who's kind of the little screw up.
Yeah.
But going back to that, I figured, like, even though maybe Boba Fett's, and maybe you're right, even maybe Boba Fett hasn't been the most keen assassin, or wasn't, probably he's not the best at his job, but
right,
you feel like within, and like you said, maybe it's just the fans that just make Boba Fett look cool, but I thought within the galaxy, sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is tell a story. And if you can just get your word out there, sometimes the word of your presence of this guy did some crazy stuff, even though even though he sucks at it, the story along carries it, that spreads fear. He living the lie.
He lives have that in one of the episodes.
Didn't
we have that? I think was it one of the Mandalorian episodes? Or we've had experience of this in at least other things where you have this character, and who it was? Harry Potter.
Okay, wrong franchise.
Wrong franchise, but the same point.
Yeah,
where you had the one Gilderoy Lockhart.
Okay,
sure.
Had such a presence about him. And told all these tales and lores of his adventures, none of which he did, but he had this great respect in everyone. He was this wonderful, powerful character, but he didn't do any of it.
Yeah.
I don't think Boba Fett's to that extent.
You also got to realize that Boba Fett has, even if he was, this real cool, Arnold Schwarzenegger type, he's also been missing for a couple of years. That it's
as far as everyone else is concerned, he's dead.
The same thing. Like it's sort of the same thing with the Jedi. The Jedi have fallen into, people don't believe that Jedi exist. When we meet Han Solo, he's like, it's a hokey religion. The Jedi aren't real. Whatever.
Yeah.
So
give me a
Boba
good
Fett,
old blaster any day.
Even if he's built up a name for himself, he's been MIA. Where the heck you been, boy? Oh, you got eaten by a sand monster in the middle of the desert. You got punked by Chewbacca.
Yeah, which is also very interesting too.
So you are telling the story of this character trying to reestablish himself as you've got to go back to Matt's analogy. You've got Danny DeVito trying to prove himself as Arnold, prove that he is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Boy, there's a sentence I never thought I'd say.
But you have to admit, it is a rather close analogy.
Yeah,
No, it is. I can see it.
And they are clones. What were most of the clones? They were the origin of the stormtroopers.
Right.
They were these, tools that the Empire, under guise as the Republic, was going around using to do their bidding, and then, turned and took over the galaxy and became the Galactic Empire. And when they had no use for these tools, flushed them down the toilet and replaced them with the new troopers.
There you go. Here's a question. I know that these are 10 episodes, right? Within 10
7.
episodes.
So
7.
which hence why they're probably they did front this one up front. Okay, we'll start with the slow burn. We'll get this information out there. Some of this may pay off later on. Some of it's just maybe
It'll pay off later on.
Yeah,
which it will. I
Yeah.
think where my question really is like, but roughly this episode was 30. It was counted as 37 minutes, but if you remove credits,
10 hours of
that's
credits.
probably 10 hours of credits. That's really like a 20-minute episode. So really, it was an incredibly short episode filled with nothing. I'm surprised they didn't make this an hour episode. That way you could at least establish a little bit more groundwork of why what Boba Fett is trying to do.
It run 30. What if it was a 39-minute episode? I remember because it got to a certain point where we've been watching this for a while. How much longer is left?
Yeah,
and it was, and I hit the thing on my screen, and it still had 3 or 4 minutes left in the show, and there was still a wee bit of story to go. So the credits aren't as long as though they feel like they go on forever.
Yeah.
It really is a 30. It was a good 37 minute story.
But even then, it just again even if we're still to remove that within that 30 minutes, it just didn't. It feel like it needed at least an hour to really just establish
maybe an hour, but it needed a something. It just needed a something there at the end. It needed a catch at the end to hook me for next week.
Exactly.
It needed a twist.
You're right.
It needed a hook.
There's no catch.
It needed
I agree.
Him getting beat up.
Jabba the Hutt's hand coming up out of the sand and clutching, and that just something
something you weren't expecting.
Right.
Something
not him getting beat up and having to be the 2 Gamorrean guards throwing him back into the chamber, and him going back into sleep, and remembering what happened a year ago.
Yeah, there was no hook leading into that episode, which really felt.
Or if not that, then maybe with some of these Disney starts to needs to start releasing the first 2 episodes so that we get that hook. You go, okay, well that was odd. Watch, and then you can watch the second one and get hooked there.
Which is what they did with WandaVision.
Right.
They gave us the first 2 episodes, which most people say are the most useless episodes for that entire series.
Right.
Here's where I will slightly differ. There is a show, since we have talked about shows outside, since Matt has already mentioned Warner Brothers, Harry Potter, I feel like we could.
And twins.
And twins. I figured we could talk about there's another interesting show called Arcane League of Legends. That's based off the animation. It's like the 3 episodes. And if you have an opportunity to watch that, what they do in terms of storytelling is not only fun. The illustration is also phenomenal, but the storytelling and character development is so good that it does seem to. They kind of drive it with their characters, and they leave you with enough that you want more. And in the beginning, when this aired, Netflix released a show in 3 acts. So you get 3 acts of the show, but and I think there were only 30-minute shows, just like Boba Fett, And to tell you, they were able to throw in so much within those 30 minutes that they were, like you said, they gave you the hook that you wanted to finish it. Once you finish that first act, you're like, dude, I want to watch the other two
Right.
or three. And again, I feel like when it comes to watch, like you said, Boba Fett, it just doesn't really have that next hook to continue watching it. It's like, oh my god, this was amazing. It was just, again, like you said, like you said, with Matt A. It, I think it would make sense to release 2 episodes, but then it just kind of goes back to the weakness of not strong writing within this 30-minute arc of being able to do something.
Right.
Right. They're not. They're playing the long game here. They're not playing the short part as well, which I feel if you have a 7-episode series, and I don't know how long the other ones are running because I don't think they released those yet. First season of Mandalorian, which was 8 episodes. Majority of them ran around around 39, 33, 37, 41, 35. So around that slightly over half an hour mark.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we have. But The Mandalorian was new. It was one of the first original series.
Yeah.
And within the first couple episodes, they did leave you with each episode with that desire of wanting more, where they gave you a hook. I don't know why on this one, again, thinking that maybe they figured the character alone was enough, but you shouldn't drive with that.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be your trump card. That should be your, okay, this is how we're getting people to just show up to the show. But what's going to keep them to come back to the show?
No, and I agree. Like I said, you can still play the long game and put in these Easter games that's going to lead to something big for the season finale. But people also want to be able to enjoy the experience within that 30-minute arc. So if I'm going to sit here and watch a show just for a payoff at the end, but I have to go through 3 kind of mediocre to boring bad episodes just for that one episode of season finale, that makes it all worth it. Is that really an enjoyable experience? I don't know. That's.
I want to go back. I want to go back and watch The Mandalorian. I've seen one division. I don't really have any desire to go back and rewatch it again. I've seen Hawkeye and Captain Falcon, or whatever. Not Hawkeye. What's the?
Yeah, Hawkeye and
Falcon
Captain and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon, Winter Soldier.
I'm tired. Somebody got it right. Falcon and I saw Falcon and Winter Soldier. I probably won't watch that again. Loki, I might watch again because Loki was interesting.
And the payoff for Loki's coming in another year.
Yeah.
And a half.
I've forgotten what I was about to say. But yeah, I just pacing wise, it's starting out like WandaVision, and that makes me nervous. But hopefully,
yeah, you know what? You really do touch on that. I feel like Disney, with these shows, have like slow burden issues of just kind of building up to it, and I feel like it feels like it does get to it once it starts to kind of get good at the end of the half, you're already at the season finale, and I feel like it's sometimes with a lot of these shows, the season finale doesn't stick the landing.
Right.
Like it's just they take too long to get the engine running. It's just what I'm starting to notice with a lot of these Disney shows.
Yeah, and it's hard to say where we're going with this because I mean they've very kept tight lip on this stuff, which is nice, and I'm glad. Either because I try to avoid the spoilers, or they really try not to put out anything. I mean, production value, it looks better than the Mandalorian. Everything looks really crisp, really fresh. Except for this blobby white pasty guy who's just stuck to a post.
Yeah. Like,
but I don't know. It's like we keep saying I'm holding on that all that's exposition in the past is going to pay off some point in the future. But I'm more curious about what was happening in the now. I'm like, okay, he walks into town, he's doing his thing, he sees Jennifer Beal, who looks great with tentacles, and
Hey.
it's a family show.
This is a family podcast.
She gives him a helmet full of money. Fennec Shen looks down and goes, "Where's mine?" I like that point. They walk out, and some guys go to beat him up, which was immediately after I turned the page and I go to her, "Wait, where'd the guards go?" Because they were right behind them. The guards weren't there. They immediately got tagged. And you had that nice battle in the center of town. I was kind of going, okay, let's go from here. Okay, we saw how you survived the pit, and maybe we'll get little clips through. You could spread that out throughout the season, and not try and give it to us all in one episode. We'll find out next week if how that's going to go. But I don't want the whole show to be a flashback.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's only been one episode, but
I'll give it this, and maybe this is the way to take this is the takeaway here, and the thing to look at is that maybe the first episode isn't the story of Boba Fett. Maybe the first episode is really the story of the two Gamorrean guards, who she warns him. You know, these guys were faithful to Jabba. They were faithful to Bib Fortuna. I don't think you can trust them. And he says, look, you know, if I spare you guys, will you be loyal to me? And they're yes. And you kind of, it's left kind of nebulous at that moment. Are these guys really going to deliver and be good and stand behind Boba Fett, or is Fennec going to be right? And that the first chance these two giant pigs get, they're going to shiv Boba in the back. And what happens is that, you know, they come to his aid, they come to his rescue, and they are the ones that are responsible for him getting him home and getting him into the bacta tank. So you can kind of look at it from, you say nothing happened. Well, no, actually, that actually is a bigger thing than you know. That's a bigger thing than you think it is, because you now see that his actually being sparing, the fact that he spared these two Gamorrean guards, ultimately saved his life.
Right. And I agreed to that. I think that's really your takeaway here, is that it's that idea of the Aesop fable, the mouse and the lion. Mm-hmm. You know, the lion spares the mouse, and then the mouse chews through the nets to save the lion later on. And I have a feeling that that's going to be a theme we're going to see a couple times in this series. I think that's going to come up again, that the fact that he runs things differently is going to pay out for him a little bit better, maybe. Agree.
Yeah.
One other thing I do want to bring up, which, like, a lot of the marketing in the past has always been kind of the first episode and maybe a little bit of from future episodes, but mostly just chunks out of the first episode, and that's all they kind of give us. We saw nothing from the first episode in the promotions. Everything we've seen hasn't happened yet.
No.
Yeah.
No, I agree. No, I totally agree. I'm just I'm just a little concerned on how this first episode started. And I'm not, and again, like it's almost like, I'm not saying, again, like I said, Boba Fett is a popular fan character, but based on how we're having this conversation, it just seems like this character should not have a television show at the moment.
But he's a character that people have, for whatever reason, he's a character who have stuck with people, and people do go.
Oh yeah, no,
Star Wars fans go bananas for him.
You had a total of what, 5 lines
and I
movies?
agree though, but like it's like, yeah, he's a cool character. Maybe in the eyes of fans, he's right now a cool character. But at the moment, he seems like a character that really should not have a television show at the moment, and really should have just been like a really cool callback character in The Mandalorian, and it kept it that way. And then he just kind of flies off and does his own thing. Not announced that he's having his own television show at the moment. Again, like I said, there's going to still be more episodes to that though. But yeah. It's just I'm a little concerned about how with the state of Disney shows are and how everything's run a little bit. Just a little bit. It's not worrying, but that's.
I think the show will get there. It's, the first episode just needed something to hook me for the second one.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, as I often say, Filoni, we trust. I know we're going to end up in a good place. It's just going to take more than one episode to get there.
Right.
We still have 6 more episodes. So, I mean, production value, it is there. It looks fantastic. It looks even better than The Mandalorian's does. So we got that end of it. We're just waiting for the rest of it to kind of really reel us in, and we'll probably get reeled in before we realize it. It may even take 2 episodes. So maybe even by the end of the next, okay, it's getting a little bit better. Then maybe by the third episode, we will go, wow, okay, now we're hooked. Hopefully it doesn't take half the season, but that's it. So on a grade, I know I normally do 1 through 10. Maybe we could do A, B, and C, A being, fantastic, B, C, D, just like a grading system there. I would give this one maybe a C+.
All right, I'll go with you. I'll go C+ on that.
I give the show. I don't believe in your grading system. I give the show.
I refuse your grading system. I will install mine.
I did this to him when we reviewed Loki, where he asked me to rate the finale 1 through 10, and I gave it a rating of a rating of one crocodile Loki. I think was how I rated the show. So I think this I'm gonna rate the show 2 spared Gamorrean guards is my rating for the show.
Okay. Can I ask you a question, Matt?
Oh, and a cameo from British actor Matt Berry, which is the second time that they've used one of the actors from the British series, The IT Crowd, to voice a droid.
Nice.
So that tickled me.
Before we end this, I want to answer a question, Matt. Were you the person who in school got like bad grades, and then they gave you an F, but then you refuted the teacher, said, I don't agree with your grading system. I'm going to go with my grading system, and I'm going to grade it how I believe I did well in your class. Were you that person?
You're assuming he went to school.
I'm going to plead the fifth because there actually is... I had, for some reason, there's something pinging about 5th or 6th grade, and some teachers I didn't get on particularly well with, and I can guarantee you at least one college professor who graded me on some stuff, and I went, "You're out of your mind." I don't agree with your grading system.
I do not agree with your curriculum, sir.
So I'm not gonna. Let's move on. What's the next thing we're gonna talk about?
Thank you both for being my friend.
Oh, what a beautiful lead-in! Come on. There's your lead-in right there. Say that again.
Yeah, thank you both for being my friend.
Say it properly.
I love that shirt. I said thank you both for being my and our friends.
No, say it. Say what I want you to say. Because it's a great lead-in. I was going to close the show with
traveling down this road and back again.
There we go. Close enough.
Both your hearts are pure. You're both my pals and my confidants.
There you go. There you go.
If Matt Leonard threw us a party and invited everyone that we knew,
it would be 2 Gamorrean guards and a crocodile Loki.
and a pork chop that Elvis took a bite out of.
There we go.
It is actually appropriate that we're laughing about this topic. This is I didn't want to lead off the show with this because it is kind of it's the downer end of a year. On December 31st, we unfortunately lost one of America's sweethearts, Betty White, weeks before her centennial birthday. Betty left us to go provide laughter in the great beyond. And there's no way that I could avoid talking about such a spirited person who provided so much laughter and levity and hope for people. As I see it, I mean, how do you guys?
There's no beginning or end to discussing how great she was. I mean, she's been just shy of 100 years. 80 of those years were spent in entertainment. I mean, just always, predating. I mean, Sue Ann Nivens on Mary Tyler Moore is the first thing she's really known, was, the first big thing that she was really known for, but she had been around long before then and had an established career. And then, of course, what everybody remembers her for is, is Golden Girls, where she was
Rose Nyland.
She was Rose Nyland. I was going to say she was 1/4 of Delicious Pie. I mean, there were 4 pieces to that pie, each one so wonderful in their own right with what they did. I mean, all 4 of them, you could pick apart any one of those performances. Any one of those 4 performances is a comedy masterclass in and of itself. And when you put those 4 pieces together, watching them is just, what they were all doing and how they were all. I was watching a thing yesterday. There was there's a thing on YouTube it's every Saint Olaf story, and literally the lead off. You watch the lead off, and you can see B. Arthur and Rue McClanahan, Rue particularly, trying not to laugh as Betty White tells this story, which is insane. And you can see them even cutting around, like she does the majority of the story in close-up, because when you cut to the wide shot, you can see Rue McClanahan digging her fingernails into B. Arthur's arm and turning away from the camera, biting her thumb to try and not laugh. She was brilliant to sell that. Rose was an idiot. I mean, she was an absolute imbecile, and it takes an incredible amount of talent to take that level of stupidity and make it likable and lovable and charming, and she was. She brought so much charm and joy, and then you go back and you watch Mary Tyler Moore, and Sue Ann Nivens is just the opposite. She's the anti-Rose Nyland. She's conniving and she's nasty and she's mean, and you just don't want to be around her at all. And yet Betty was so wonderful. And then you go further forward in time. I don't know how many people. I don't think enough people saw this. I saw maybe the first season of it. Her role on Hot in Cleveland. Here she is in her 90s. And man, she's still getting the biggest laughs. She's still holding her own. She's the oldest host that Saturday Night Live has ever had, and she held her own there too. I mean, how many comedians, how many actors in their 80s, in their 90s are still getting those? Can still deliver that kind of timing and that kind of performance. She was fantastic from beginning to end. And that's not even touching upon the amount of work that she did for animals and for foster animals and for the different animal groups that she worked with and worked for and raised awareness for and raised money for. We've lost not only a tremendous talent, guys, we lost a tremendous human being.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I totally agree. She was America's grandma. That's like really the best way you could put it at that point. She was just fabulous in anything that she did. And again, I don't have as me growing up as born in the 80s, really grew up in the 90s. It was always the Golden Girls playing in the background. And like I said, she was one of the women that would get one of the biggest laughs throughout that television show. I mean, all the women were great. B. Arthur, Rue McKilligan, Estelle Getty. Betty White was just one of the more sweeter, more innocent people out of that four. And, she was so incredibly endearing. And even since then, she was just an icon wherever she went, either when she was on Raw or she was on the television, the cartoon version of Hercules, or she made her voice appearance in Toy Story 4. She was just pretty much, you just loved her. You just loved her in it. And it's kind of funny that, Matt, you bring it up in Hot in Cleveland, because she ends up taking the Sophia role, because you almost see they were trying to kind of recreate that golden. It wasn't really Golden Girls, but like you could see she ended up taking the role of the more wiser, more established woman in her time. And I think I think it's just it stinks that we are started in 2022 losing a very popular pop culture and television icon.
Yeah, I find it amazing. She started her career in 1945 as her first registered credit in A Short Time to Kill, but then she goes on in 52 to start her own series, Life with Elizabeth, playing the role of Elizabeth. Ran for 40 episodes, and she did some stuff after that. Nothing that most people would recognize. That's Life. An episode of Petticoat Junction, doing stuff here and there. 45 episodes of Mary Tyler Moore as Sue Ann Niamh, getting her own thing at 77, lasting 14 episodes, The Betty White Show. And then really the Golden Girls is where, we really establish her as an icon. But even at that, after Golden Girls, she didn't do much. It took a little bit, and then let's see here. She was on Bob for 6 episodes. She'd do little pieces and appearances, but then she like really all of a sudden starts to get these bit pieces, especially voice acting. She started to do a lot of voice acting. Like Isaac said, she showed up in the Hercules animated series as a character, animated Tom Sawyer movie. But Teacher's Pet, Ellen DeGeneres, she did a show on. She kept on popping up. She just would never let people forget who she was. And then she starts getting this more grandma role. The Teacher's Pet, she voiced a grandma. Simpsons, she played herself. Higglytown's Heroes, she was a recurring role as grandma. Ugly Betty, she was herself. She did some voice work in the English dub of Ponyo. Prep and Landing, she did in the short that came between the two series, Secret Santa, she played Mrs. Claus, which she was brilliant in that. Toy Story 4, like you said, Porky Asked a Question, she's Betty White. And in the new Mickey Mouse short, she's Aardvark Lady. But yeah, she especially as she matured. I'm not gonna say older, but as she matured in age, she was more respected than when she was younger, I feel. and she didn't hold back as much. I think that's because she had that respect that she can kind of, and she was never mean. She could make fun of a subject, or she could do something, say something, but it was never vicious.
There's a sweetness, even when she was being bitingly funny. There's a sweetness to it.
Yeah,
I recommend people go find the outtakes, find the blooper reel from Hot in Cleveland, because she's so I should warn. There's some language. Kids, make sure your parents are around. But it's so
parents,
fun.
make sure you cover your ears.
Yeah, kids, make sure you cover your parents' ears when you're watching the outtakes from Hot in Cleveland. But she's so funny. Like you said, she doesn't hold back. And she's routinely has the other three women in stitches. I mean, in absolute tears. In almost every outtake, she's so funny. And one of the things that I was noticing yesterday, I was watching, like I said, I watched the every Saint Olaf story.
Yeah, I saw you post that. I had to get to watch that.
Watch that. One of the things that really struck me is that she has, if you watch them, there are these what's almost death in sitcom television. I mean, really should be. Any sitcom writer would tell you, no, you can't do that. These long stories that she tells. I mean, this is literally paragraphs of dialogue that she's got to memorize and tell these stories to get to whatever the punchline is. And very often the punchline is something insanely stupid.
Which had nothing to do with the story.
Right. And then on top of which, it's these fictitious, Hans Flanderflugerflurven, or whatever it is that she's got to deliver the name. These ridiculous Scandinavian, goofy Scandinavian names that they came up with for her. There's an incredible amount of preparation that's got to go into that. And she makes it look effortless. She makes it look like she's literally, these are just coming to her. Yeah, she's great. She's very, very
like any other memory that would come to us being older, telling our kids, oh yeah, when we were growing up in Manalapan, New Jersey, I had to do this and walk there, and right. I knew this person, and it just the way that she delivered those lines, massive amount of text. Like you said, effortlessly. I remember, and I gotta find this clip where she is explaining that her and the Swedish chef are talking because they speak mock Swedish.
That wasn't you and I keep talking, but that wasn't her.
That wasn't her.
That was not her.
I could swear that was Betty. That was somebody else. That's right. You had me look that up.
I had to look that up. It's Gene Stapleton who does that, not
Betty. That. It would have been better if it was Betty White.
It would have been better. Do I need to come on next week so we can do a tribute to Gene Stapleton and you can tell this story?
It's been a few too many days.
I actually don't think Betty White ever worked with the Muppets, surprisingly.
She should. She should have.
Well, she should. It's a little late for that.
Well, nowadays, no. Nowadays, not at all.
Yeah, I don't.
If you can get Egon back, I know Remus still could be in a movie. Then why can't? I mean, Isaac.
She's got an entry on the Muppet Wiki. Hang on, there might be something here.
Okay.
Oh, wait. She did an appearance on not Good Morning America. What's the other one? The Today Show.
Today Show.
On May 3rd, 2010, White appeared on Today to promote her spot as Saturday Night Live host. Elmo was also on the show that day to promote the video Best of Elmo 2. That was the only time Betty White worked with the Muppets. She worked with Elmo.
Oh, there you go.
Close. There's a connection. All right, we got a connection.
Okay.
Should have been a better connection, but there's a connection.
I'm kind of surprised by that.
Me too. I thought that it, like would fit in perfectly on the Muppet Show. The
On the
newer-
original,
Yeah.
well, the original absolutely, but on even the new one that they
sure.
the failed attempt that they did, I think she would have worked in there as well. Anything with the Muppets, I think she should have worked
Well,
on.
Yeah, I mean, you figure when they were doing the original Muppet Show, that was the 70s to the 80s. Her real big claim to fame there was Sue Ann Nivens on Mary Tyler Moore, so she wasn't that. Although she was a name, she wasn't that big of a name. As we said, her star didn't really rise until the Golden Girls when the Muppets weren't doing anything.
Right.
And then when they did the 2015 show, that was really, if you look at the guests that they had, ABC was really kind of promoting their own stuff. So they wouldn't have used anybody if you weren't part of a Disney.
Right.
Or more
They
specifically,
did not have
an ABC thing. They didn't have a slot for you.
Yeah, and they didn't have a stake in Hot in Cleveland at that time, so.
No. But a terrible loss, and
Yes.
but
I
we
mean,
will continue
funny lady.
we will continue to enjoy her humor and the light that she brought to the world. Certainly.
The humor, the light, and the example.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, anything else you want to add on that, Isaac? I mean, like you said, it was a different introduction for you.
No. I think we've said it all on the wonderful past Betty White. May she rest in peace.
Yeah. I mean, she's together now with her friends, so.
I think we should honor her. Spread laughter. Enjoy her laughter, but also spread laughter, spread light. If we learn anything from her, spread laughter, spread light, spread good, and for God's sakes, donate to an animal shelter.
There you go. Could have said it better. So again, gentlemen, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. And we will be talking soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again to Isaac and Matt for joining us this week as we discussed the Book of Boba Fett and remembered the beloved Betty White. What was your thoughts of the first episode of Book of Boba Fett? And by the time this comes out, the second episode of Book of Boba Fett. We will be getting into those at a later date. And please feel free to share some of your favorite memories, videos, anecdote stories about Betty White on our socials. You can find us. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/Disney Marvels podcast. Instagram, we're at Disney Marvels Podcast. TikTok at Disney Marvels Podcast. And on the Twitter at Disney Marvels. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, where you can catch the audio feed as well as some additional videos that pop up from time to time on there. You can leave us a voice message through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website, or you can record a message electronically and send it to us, along with any questions or suggestions you may have to disneymarvels@gmail.com. You can find links to all these in the show notes. I want to thank you guys for your time. I know how crazy times are, especially with the holidays and everything going on in the world nowadays. Everything is a bit unhinged. But the fact that we get to spend this time together really means a lot to myself, to our co-hosts, to all of us, to the Disney Marvels podcast family. We really appreciate it. And please, spread the news. Tell people about this show. Share a link out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever your social media preference is. If you're not on social media, that's okay. You could also share it out. Just tell people about it. Word of mouth is always great. And also, please, just another moment, if you really enjoy the show, take a moment to rate us on your favorite podcasting feed. particularly Apple Podcasts, where we currently have all 5-star reviews right now. I again, baffles my mind, and I really appreciate it. It really helps us keep going. So, and Apple will do their part at this point, especially, or even the other podcast sites. If you leave a review, they tell other people about the show and helps grow the family. The bigger the Disney Marvel family, the better. Walt Disney believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when new episodes are posted. And while you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Help the show out. We can bring you more movie reviews, food reviews, and different reviews like that. You can do this over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvels/support, or find our Patreon page, where you can get some cool stuff that way, or our merchandise shop. Get yourself some nice hoodies and sweatshirts for the winter season. Keep yourself warm and bundled up, and help your favorite podcast out while you're at it. Links to all these are also in the show notes, because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. Whatever darkness, whatever troubles you're facing out there right now, I know it's the winter time and things sometimes get a little more down, there's less sunlight. Don't give up. The light's not necessarily the sun in the sky, the light is you. There's a light inside of you. Let it shine for everyone, because it is beautiful. Even if some people tell you otherwise, you are beautiful, you are special, you are loved. Don't ever give up on yourself, and don't ever be afraid to ask for help. Be your own hero. Never give up, never give in. Now I'd like to end this show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. I am interested in entertaining people, in bringing pleasure, particularly laughter, to others, rather than being concerned with expressing myself with obscure creative impressions. Again, that's Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.
Rose, is this another one of those Scandinavian Viking concoctions?
Yes! It's called Gnurkenflurken cake. It's an ancient recipe, but I Americanized it.
Yeah, so one might say you brought Geflurkenurken into the 80s?
Yes, but I'm not one to blow my own Vertuvenflugen. I can't even reach mine.